you were saying, Mike...
Yes.
When you were saying that you can add the luck points into our roll, is that after we roll or
after your roll? You can buy point for point if you want.
Before it's determined whether it's success or failure.
After you determine whether it's a success or
Yeah,
failure,
okay.
you can buy the success if you have enough points to work with.
Gotcha.
So, like, if you only needed one
Right.
point to make it, you know.
I forgot to ask that out there.
So, one thing that Percy, you had walked away from the conversation outside while we were getting ready, kind of to wrap up here, in any given game session, the way that sanity works, if you lose more than 20% of your sanity within a game session, then I get to roll for a phobia, or I get to roll for a temporary insanity to apply to your character because you've taken way too much stress during that session.
Does my sanity reset at the start of every session?
It doesn't reset, but that's almost like your... How can I put this? That's almost like your experience. At the end of each session, I grant sanity and luck back to the players.
Interesting.
Okay? Your skills. As you succeed in a skill check throughout the game, you get a check mark next to it. You get a chance to roll against your intellect and education, or, it's your intellect to see whether or not you succeed. And if you succeed in that check, then we're going to house rule it where we're going to go ahead and give you a 1d4 because you used that skill and you practiced it essentially during that session in order to be able to see if you can increase the skill level of that skill. Okay? So it'll be a slow and steady creep in order to be able to get there.
Sure.
And get these skills up.
Well, welcome back, stream. Sorry we didn't have music this time around. Again, this is a test. We honestly, this is just kind of testing. Can we stream? And we can. So we'll have it more polished next month. But let's go ahead and continue the gameplay there, Mike. Let's get into it.
I also did choose a character name if you wanted it.
Sure.
It's Marcus Hunter.
Marcus Hunter. All right. And for those of you that have sheets in front of you on the very back page, if you want to, there's a nifty little chart on the bottom right that'll allow you to go through and write each of your players' names and where they're sitting at the table. So that you don't have to constantly go, hey, you. I know, I'm guilty of it.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, what was your character name?
Tony Fantini. Okay.
All right. So what I will do is I will pause for a second and say that after I read my introduction here, I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to say your character's name and occupation. So that'll be a perfect opportunity for each of you to write down who's who. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. So without further ado, we are going to step into this game. Now, we want to welcome you again back to Well, That Didn't Work. And normally we are a podcast and a webcast team that hosts on Podbeam and various other formats, and we post our videos, our more raw, unedited videos to YouTube. This is our first Twitch session while we're trying to figure out what to do on a mini story that is part of Call of Cthulhu. We expect this game to go maybe about 5 sessions. Each of those sessions will happen once a month, and we'll make sure that we post it out. So there will be an opportunity, if you look at one of our forums, to get our Twitter information. As a matter of fact, Percy, will you go ahead and let them know our Twitter information?
Yeah, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Not Working Crew.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sure. You can also email us if you wanted to send us any questions or feedback you have to notworkingcast@gmail.com.
All right. Thank you. All right. So we're not going to advertise for other people. We're just going to go ahead and jump into this. The name of this campaign or mini arc is going to be The Trail of the Jade Rabbit. All right. Now,
Sounds like an old Bogart movie.
that it does. I mean, we're back here in this time frame. So I'm going to start by reading a quote from Lovecraft. So for those of you that have never been Lovecraft fans, this will help you understand how this world and how this mythos was created. He once said, "The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live in a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage very far. Sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us very little. But someday, the piecing together of disassociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas in reality. and our frightful position therein, that we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee from the light into the peace of and safety of the new dark age. H.P. Lovecraft himself was fascinated with the unknown, the strange, anything that challenged our sense of reality. All right? So that's who he was. When he was alive, his writing wasn't very popular, but it picked up I'm going to say it, a cult following very quickly thereafter. All right? So for our Cthulhu game, Cthulhu itself is a game of secrets and mysteries. It's a horror-based, strange creature and sanity-blasting entities that use the Cthulhu mythos and godlike entities in its lore. I'm the keeper. Most of you will know that position as a GM or DM. And each one of our players is also going to be known for this game as a investigator. Ultimately, that is their role. They will be investigating. All right. Cthulhu mythos itself transcends time, space, and can be pulled into any period that there is. The period that we've chosen is our investigators are set in St. Louis, about 6 years after the repeal of Prohibition. So it's the late 1930s, around 1939 in the late fall. It's still very much reeling from the late parts of the Great Depression. The entire city is. It's starting to rebound. Some of the cities, like St. Louis, has begun its recovery and again began to grow. It's not that all the city is laced in poverty, but there are definitely some areas that are. Our investigators are a group coming from a diverse background in life, education, and skills. But they've all had one thing in common. They're all members of a club. That club, we don't know the name of it yet, but I'm sure it's going to come up and it's going to be absolute goofiness. But that club is tied to investigating weird occurrences that happen in nature. Each of our players has their own reason as to why they are a member of that club. But what it is, at the end of the day, every single one of them wants to find out the truth behind these strange happenings. And again, that's going to begin us in the trail of the Jade Rabbit. So, Percy, what I'd like to know about your character real quick is, what's their profession? What's their name? And why did you choose this profession?
My name is Doug Hauser. I am a psychiatrist, a trained doctor, who is really out to disprove any of this occult nonsense. I've trained and went to school for mental wellness and specialized in healing occult hallucinations.
Okay. Daniel.
So I am going to be playing Billy Cranston, and I picked the chauffeur of Doug
Hauser.
Hauser. Yeah, I've been his driver for about 6 years now.
All right. And why did you choose him? Why did you choose that profession?
It's something that you can kind of really be nosy, but people don't really know you're being nosy because you're just driving them around. You're doing your job. So he kind of picks up on some little bits and bobbles here, and I kind of wanted to try out that kind of play style.
In other words, you played Call of Cthulhu before, and you found out that you didn't have a driver.
Oh, no, I was the driver last time we crashed and died.
Okay, got it.
So I'm not riding in your car.
So, about this, you're my driver.
Oh, that's a different life. You don't have to worry about that.
All right. Moving on. Kevin.
Good luck, Doug.
Kevin.
Yes. I am playing the investigator Marcus Hunter, who is an investigative journalist. Let's see. You want to know why I was I'm sorry. So I'm playing Marcus Hunter, an investigative journalist. That is my investigator. I became an investigative journalist. Well, I wanted to do journalism. That's why I became one. I joined this club because of a mishap in a previous story I had written. It's kind of cratered my career. And the beat I have is more or less effectively like National Enquirer level of stories.
Okay.
Or, yeah. So that...
Yes.
As you said earlier, the truth is out there.
Yes, I do. That is why I'm untrustworthy of authority, and I believe in the truth and letting the people know the truth.
All right, fair enough.
So
Rick?
is the Jade Rabbit Bigfoot's familiar?
No.
Is Bigfoot a wizard?
Nope.
I was thinking of a good name. How about the Rabbit Hunters? The Lascaux Rabbit Hunters. Okay. I'm Tony.
It's hunting season.
We've already caught the Ruby Rabbit. We caught the Diamond Rabbit. We gotta get that Jade Rabbit now.
The Emerald Rabbit.
The Emerald Rabbit. Slow cousin to the Jade Rabbit.
I'm Tony Fontini. I was brought up, up in New York, in the ghetto, and the Don, he got me took me up, taught me some trades. I was basically a small-time hoodlum for a while, pickpocket, that kind of thing. But I loved cars, so eventually he let me drive. I was good at it, and but then he sent me down here to get away from some heat. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of laying low on the land, but I got a little bit of cash, and just I've always been fascinated by this stuff, So that's just kind of checking it out. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
So I don't know if it's intentional or not, but you're definitely coming up as like New England Italian, and it's great.
All right. So you have two Italians sitting at this table at least, and I'm going to go with a different critique.
Okay, no, you're totally fine. I'm 1,000% white bread, so.
All right. Fair enough. All right. So our opening scene, our opening setting. This can involve every one of the players, but it's early September in the greater St. Louis area on the Missouri side of the border. Fall is in full swing with chilly mornings and warm afternoons. The days of summer have faded and darkness is beginning to creep in back earlier and earlier. The sun is starting to set. Overhead, some geese and ducks have begun their annual journeys back to the south as they approach the Missouri River. All the oaks, the maples, the hickories, all the trees in the area have started to change their colors and started to be more vibrant reds and yellows. All of the leaves have also begun to, as the wind has picked up in the past, it's starting to drop those leaves all over the ground. And for those of you that have homes, raking, that horrible chore that has to happen.
I live in an apartment.
He's got a chauffeur to do his raking.
I don't know if that's part of my job description.
And all of the typical honeysuckle smell that you get within St. Louis, I don't know if any of you have ever been there, is gone. The frost has started to kill it in the early mornings. Camera pans down, and what you're seeing is Berman's Tavern. For those of you that are unfamiliar with it, Berman's is a national icon in St. Louis.
I literally wrote that as my meaningful location.
All right. Great. No. And it resides on the south side of the city. I did my homework too.
Yeah, nice.
You know what?
I just looked up oldest pubs in St. Louis.
I'll just write that down.
Now it sits just west of the river, and it's early morning on Thursday. It's early evening on Thursday, about 5:30. So as the camera pans in, what it sees is this deep red brick 2-story building that has gray concrete roof overhangs that are protruding from the top, and its windows are trimmed in whitewashed blinds, something that you wouldn't see nowadays, right? You're going to see more storefront, but these are whitewashed blinds that sit there, and it's got a canvas overhang that wraps around the corner, and it's very vibrant green, so it reminds you of it hasn't seen a whole lot of winters. This tavern is a new and up-and-coming place that's here in St. Louis. Just a few years ago, this tavern wouldn't have had any patronage with the middle of Prohibition. Now, it's a booming place as the sun starts to set. Inside, I've got all of our players in there sitting around a table having some normal discussion at this point, debating some of the weird happenings and things that have gone on. So what would you guys be discussing? What would you think you would be discussing?
probably.
Don't everybody chime in.
So, hey, anything on the beat? You heard any good stories?
Nope.
Man, it's gonna be short session.
This is where we say you're killing me, Smalls.
Just the misappropriation of funds that I don't get to write about. I hate this beat. I mean,
You know, as this conversation is going on, there's a lot of patrons there that are there. There's a bunch of younger ones that are more the rowdy crowd that never had a chance to do a whole lot of drinking at this point. And they're getting a little bit more out of hand. The older war vets are sitting there and they're talking about, you know, the glory days and the past and folks that have passed along and buddies that they're taking a final drink for. What I'd like for each of you to do at this point is I'd like for you to roll me a spot hidden or whatever you would like to do from a perception style. Again, I'll pull up my character sheet so that we know.
It's spot hidden, huh?
Give me a spot hidden.
or listen.
You can do a listen.
All right.
Again, your target goal here is
Is
to be less than your skill.
For a skill,
I
that's
was
70.
successful. Yeah, I can spot that kind of stuff, you know?
Was it a normal success?
It was
or-
enormous. So close, so close. I missed it by that much.
So you're drinking.
I'm not. I was trying to get one of my camels out of the pack, and I couldn't really. I was having trouble.
Have you tried one of these new filtered buns, you know?
Now,
The
I was
filters aren't
griping
for me.
a little too loud.
You were what?
I've been griping a little too loud, so I can't really pay attention.
so is the driver in the bar or is he hanging out
Oh,
outside?
he's hanging out.
Yeah,
with
he's
us.
in the bar. He's kind of trying to plan the trip that he's gonna have to take Mr. Doug out on.
All right. Okay. So what happens is you're listening to some radio that's going on. It's kind of hard to hear with what's happening in the background with everybody being rowdy, but you're hearing a little bit more, and you're hearing people talk about the invasion of Poland that's currently taking place. Germany, it's dominating the news, the papers, the secondary headlines. You know, there's articles about France. It's about New Zealand and the United Kingdom all coming together to see whether or not their parliaments are going to agree to go to war. But Rick, you kind of notice as one of those articles, it's something stands out to you a little bit different, and you would have thought that our journalist would have caught it, but
He doesn't care. That's why he's down here with us.
I don't know how I failed to have a 70 and listen.
and he's drinking. Let's just go with drinking.
Yep, drinking and griping.
But you notice that there's a clipping and a picture of a well-known local tale about a man who's an aspiring archaeologist who recently went missing while he was searching for some local Indian artifacts.
Really? I heard about this Indiana chap. You know? So, some local artifacts, you say?
Some local artifacts.
Yeah, what was the guy's name? Do I know?
It's going to be John.
John?
John Buckley.
John Buckley. Okay. Hey, did y'all catch that? Now, this was a newspaper article?
What caught you strikingly odd is that why would this article be amidst what's happening with an eventual or with a escalation of the crisis overseas?
And this was in the newspaper?
This is in the newspaper.
Hey, y'all, check this out. You know, we're here, it's supposed to be investigating all this stuff, and this archaeologist is trying to dig up some stuff, and he disappeared. Why, you know, they don't normally report on that. This must be some bigwig or something. You ever heard of this guy? John Buckley?
Have we heard of this guy?
I'd like each of you to do a intelligence check.
I got 100.
You failed, sir. You failed.
Didn't something
You
bad
got
happen?
100?
I've never rolled 100 in my life.
Yes, you have
You never
critically
got 100
failed.
on anything.
You have critically
I
failed the
fumbled,
check.
right?
Yes. Now we will get into that momentarily.
I succeeded. You know what I'm saying?
So you know that this local archaeologist, you have heard a few things. You did notice a few
Got the
things.
92.
Our investigators can investigate.
I
got
did
it. I
real
got a 16.
good at character
It just-
creation.
I got 16 pass.
Law of averages.
It
Taking
just
over.
shows you
I
it
don't know
takes
what-
a criminal to spot this kind of stuff. You know?
All right.
Are you saying you're behind it?
So fair
I
enough.
didn't say anything like that.
You seem to
Daniel,
know an awful lot about this.
Daniel, both you and Rick's characters, you both
Change dice.
catch that he's wearing the shirt that they have in the photograph. It's a stock photograph, but it's part of the University of St. Louis.
Oh, he's a professor. Of course, that goes to figure. Where'd you go to school? Did you even go to school?
Yeah, I went to school.
What's this? What is psychiatry? Is that a real thing?
All right, bud. Listen, I like the cigarette. I didn't go to USL. I never heard of this guy. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
I'm extraordinarily uninterested in whatever he was digging up.
You know, you're not interested in that kind of stuff. You know, I mean, this is ancient stuff. This could be important. You know.
Sure, and the historians should write about it, and they should study it.
Yeah.
What ancient Indian culture are they looking at? Out of curiosity.
I cannot pronounce the name, so there are some local tribes that are there. There's quite a few of them at this point in time because this is before they had started to do the consolidations.
Okay, I guess the better question: what they talk about him researching and the cultures he's researching? It's nothing that stands out in particular.
It would be one that has normally had a claimed territory that's just northeast of Chicago. As it's northwest
American
of Chicago
Indian.
as it starts to go around towards the north. So probably
It's odd that he's doing research around here then, for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't
If you're
call
saying that
I
they're-
wouldn't call it odd because he is a local. He did have a local university, shirt on. So at that point, he's probably a professor that's teaching some of the local Indian history.
Okay, I was just trying to background of as going through the article and stuff.
Fair enough. Anybody else doing anything else, or want to know anything else?
Okay, and I'm gonna read the whole article. There's any more information in the article at all?
Not anything that's going to help you or you're going to be able to glean from. It's just a lot of background. He worked for the university. He's an archaeologist. He's a professor.
Where was he last seen again? And where does it say in the thing, or does it just say he's missing?
It just says that he is missing.
Okay.
This looks like something the cops should be looking at.
Well, yeah, but they don't. They probably did. It's in the report. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they made it in the newspaper. The cops probably checked it out a little bit, but the cops don't investigate a lot of stuff. They're too busy getting money from under the table and taking care of things.
Hey, Tony, what did he find?
Huh?
What did he find?
What did he find?
Yeah.
I don't know what he found. That's the question. What was he looking for? That's what I want to know. He just disappeared. How often do archaeologists just disappear? Okay.
And with that question, suddenly out in the street, you hear a large noise. You hear a noise from the bar where it sounds like a large bang or a backfire from a car. And it could possibly even be a gunshot. You don't know. It's just this real large, loud noise, this bang. And for a second, there's nothing. You hear a few screams, and then you hear this metal crunch of a car crashing into a building across the street.
Oh man, I hope that's not some.
As you look outside the windows, you start to see the makings of the back of a black car. A wrecked Wolseley Hornet.
Not a Hornet.
A Hornet.
Oh man.
It's kind of like a stretch Model T. And it's sitting across the street. It's careened into a fire hydrant and then plowed directly into a building that's sitting in front of.
Well, I'm gonna go check on them, make sure they're okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with him.
All right.
Yeah, we'll go check it out.
As you walk up to the as you walk out of the out of the building and start to go across the street, you can see steam coming up off of the damaged radiator and the bumpers pushed all up into the air. These things are made of solid steel, and they weren't going fast in the first place. So this vehicle, compared to a modern day vehicle, isn't as trashed as what it would normally be. But the rims are bent up, and it's kind of protruding from the tub of the vehicle where the Model T tub style would be sitting, and fluids are leaking out onto the ground. As you look through the window, you see a middle-aged man in a three-piece suit. It's not a very high-quality suit. He's kind of lying there with large sweat, with his face just starting to swell, where you could see that he hit the steering wheel, and his forehead bounced forward into the glass, shattering some of the glass. And as he's lying there, his eyes almost starting to swell shut, and his right wrist is in a very awkward position, and blood is running from his mouth and his ears. You can't tell in his gurgled breath, as the blood begins to pour from his mouth faster and faster, if he recognizes you or if he's in a stage of desperation just lashing out for help. What would you guys like to do?
Is there a doctor in the house?
Yeah, we got a doctor right here.
I would like to roll in medicine to see if there's anything I can do to help him.
Okay. Feel
He's
free.
not a real doctor, but maybe he can help you.
I can't help.
See? That's what I'm talking about.
He's like, I feel like he's in distress.
Wow, you're kind of screwed, dude.
I just stand there. I look at him for a second. I'm like, yeah, no, he's dead.
You're going to die. If this guy's got to stitch you up,
This guy's done.
just talk to him. Right? Isn't that what you do? Just talk to him.
Would anybody else like to attempt any type of first aid or anything?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
what do you
gonna
have
try to get the.
medicine?
Well, you've got first aid or you got medicine.
I'll do first aid. I'm gonna try to get him out of the car first, though.
Okay.
Oh, so we have a basic 30% no matter what.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Okay, do you want me to do the first aid check first, or do you want me to do a check to get out?
What would you like to do? What would your character? What would your player be doing? Would he try and get him out of the vehicle, or would he try and do first aid while he's in the vehicle?
I'm gonna check.
I'm gonna get him out of the vehicle first. It'll be easier to
Okay.
do first aid.
So as you know, Daniel's character is pulling him out, and again, I don't have your names written down yet, so
No,
that's
Billy.
on me. But Billy, as Billy is pulling him out, the rest of you, I guess, are gathering around
Can I make a spot hidden roll
for purposes of.
to see if there's anything around here that might have caused him to careen
Sure.
off like this?
Sure. Make it an extreme difficulty.
Oh my goodness gracious alive!
I'll help Billy first to move him out of the car.
No, cool.
I would have passed a normal check.
But I like to see you fail. No.
Well, it's happening an awful lot. Is this like Monster of the Week? Do I get experience when I fail?
It's character building.
No. I only get
Right.
a slight chance at increased skill if I win.
All right. Rick, how did you do?
I didn't do any better.
I'm gonna try to do my first aid check.
I'm gonna help Billy.
Okay.
I passed.
All right. So as you get him out of the vehicle, you know, you're the only one that seems to be close enough at this point in time. Make sure you check your skill off, that you pass that particular skill check. As you get him out of the vehicle, you're really, you know, the vehicle's kind of crunched and there's not a whole lot of working room, so people are struggling to try and get in and around, and even passerbys are standing there kind of gawking and not really helping to what's going on. It's getting in the way, but you're able to kind of help him and prop him up just enough and put some pressure on one of his bleeding wounds that he starts to slowly speak, and he's not looking at the rest of you. He's looking at Billy at this point in time, and it's barely audible, and you can tell that because of the blood that's been running out of his mouth that it's kind of gurgled, and you hear him say these words as he pulls out a journal, and his hand is starting to wave, and it can barely hold and support the weight of the journal. He says, this journal, you can't give it to the police. And he's gasping for breath. They're compromised. And my investigation, there's a bunch of... And he kind of fades out, and you get the next word, and they're crooked. And he begins to gurgle, and his mouth is just spitting more and more blood. You would recognize naturally at this point in time that he's got some internal injuries that just are not going away.
Who would recognize that?
That would be you, Percy.
Okay, Doug.
Doug.
Yeah.
Doug Hauser. So, and again, next time I will make sure I have everybody's characters written down so we're good to go.
Sure, yeah.
That's just kind of the way it works. But the next words that come out of his mouth, the rest of you cannot hear. This is specifically for Daniel and for Billy, per se. You hear, "Find my partner." As his eyes begin to fall to the side, "We have to stop the order of," and his breath gives out.
Yeah, no, you stay with me, but I start slapping like at his cheek a little bit, like enough to try to get his attention to see if anything.
No reaction.
I lean over his shoulder and say, "Billy, you could give him mouth to mouth.
Not that kind of profession, Chief.
Then you should probably just lay him down and let the
Yeah,
doctors
Billy,
take care
I
of
would
it."
leave a doctor to do that. Let the professionals handle that.
I agree.
Looking at
I'm
Dr.
go ahead and,
Hauser over there.
Try to take the.
I'm a
I'm just gonna
doctor
go.
of
Did
the
they see the journal
mind.
already?
And I can't do anything
Yeah, I
with an
don't know
unconscious
what that
patient.
is.
The journal was out in his hand at that point in time. So everybody, yes, you did see the journal.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take the journal and kind of stuff it into my back pocket.
Do a spot hidden for me.
Okay.
All of you can do a spot hidden, please.
It looks like I passed.
Yay!
Failed.
I passed. I would have passed the extreme check that time.
Yes, I passed.
Okay. So for all of you that passed with the standard pass, you notice that the front of this journal is bound with a lock and the lock is closed.
Wait, do I get anything for getting that my extreme?
Yes, you do.
Okay, cool.
Yes, you do.
Cool. I just don't know how this is. I've never played
Wait,
before.
I passed, so I get to check this box.
Yes, you get to check the box. So, Doug, you're noticing that out of the same pocket that he pulled this journal, that there is, the pocket's turned inside out, and there is a business card. And that card is a private investigator's company. There's no key. There's no keys to be found for the vehicle. There's not one for the journal. You looked through his pockets. You tried to check for any identification, and this is what your exceptional pass did, and you're unable to find any.
Okay. Are there keys in the car?
In this older
Sure.
vehicle and older
Yeah.
model, no.
Okay.
Yeah. They didn't start doing that till
I don't
Roughly
know.
It
the
would have
40s?
been mid-40s.
Yeah.
Would have been mid-40s. You're lucky it's not a hand crank.
The more you know.
Again, here's your history.
You see, listeners, you get to learn things from these casts.
All right. So, on the back in the background, you're starting to hear some faint whistles and police whistles, sirens off in the background. Passerbys are now trying to get other people's attention.
I was gonna I was gonna ask if I could look around the car to see if there's any sign of what could have caused them to swerve like that.
I'll go ahead and allow you guys to do another spot hidden on that,
Oh, I didn't do it before. That's why I was asking.
And I'm
And
gonna
I
try to.
didn't-
but I'll allow you to do another spot
Are
hidden
there,
Okay.
are there
specifically on
like
that purpose.
doctors or anybody showing up?
I'm
Not
gonna
yet.
I'm
It's
gonna try
just
to
passerbys.
persuade. I'm going to try to persuade someone to go to the bar and call somebody.
Well, you already hear police sirens and medical
still
sirens and
gonna
things
try
happen in the past, but sure.
The one skill I built Billy to use, and he just can't roll anything below a 90 on it.
I got it.
What's
Okay.
Spot hidden.
that?
So, you notice that just below where the windshield would connect on this vehicle, there's a gray hole and a ring. Reminiscent of a firearm shot.
Well, that can't be good.
And as you get closer to that hole, Percy, part of your original exceptional pass there, you see a gentleman off in the distance. Dark suit, bolt around a corner. Everybody else is coming towards the scene, and this man has just left it completely.
Cool. Bye. I don't want to be here either.
Sirens are starting to get closer.
I think we.
Noise is starting to get a little louder.
Hey, Billy, go clean yourself up in the bar.
Yeah, no, I go to the. I start heading towards the bar and to go clean myself up. And
hey, don't forget your extra clothes in the trunk.
Yeah, no, so I go to the trunk, pop it open. I put the journal in there, and I take my extra change of clothes and go to the bar to change out, and I lock it up.
We should go somewhere and check that journal out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you got the key?
To the journal?
Yeah.
Oh, no. But there's other ways to get in things.
Well, I'm thinking the same thing.
You know?
Yeah, but we should probably wait for those cops. Otherwise, we're going to get pegged for...
Don't worry. I got the cops. You guys head in.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with those guys.
All right. Now, the first people to arrive are a few officers that are kind of walking down the street, the local beat officers. And then within a matter of moments, and the big box ambulance that's almost reminiscent of a old-time truck with just a wooden box on the back of
Old
it
milk
and a stretcher. Pretty much an old milk truck. That's a good description. Pulls up, and a couple of medics jump out. And they look at you, and they say, "Hey, what's going on here? What happened?"
I looked him over by the time that we got him out of the car and safety, he was gone.
Well, it's another one for the meat grinder. This city, even though we're coming out of this downturn, this Great Depression, it's turning into a one thing or another. Hey, Joe, let's grab this guy. Let's get him in and get him to the corner. He didn't make it. And they start to do their job. Local cops kind of get some names from everyone and stops by and asks you a question.
Yeah. What can I help
Sir,
you with?
What's your name? We're gonna need a report here, since you seem to be the guy on scene.
Name's Doug Hauser, MD. What can I do for you?
Oh, you're a doctor.
Yeah, not that kind of
You
doctor.
couldn't save this poor fool?
I'm a psychiatrist. I work on living people.
Oh, you're a head doctor.
Yeah, that's me.
So my missus, she's always jumping on my case, and I keep looking at it. You got to stop all this. Is there anything you can do about that?
No, I'm afraid I can't really help people's personalities. But if you're hallucinating or doing anything funky like that, I can probably.
I think
deal
maybe
with
she's
it.
hallucinating.
Well, you gotta give me more details. I can't really tell you based on.
Well,
she did this. Oh my
she
God.
just keeps getting mad at me. I just go to work and I come home and I'm just a nice guy.
The life of a cop is a hard one. It's maybe even harder than a doctor.
Don't tell me about the life of a cop.
So,
How's the life of a shrink?
it's not as stressful as yours, I'm sure, and I'm sure it makes your wife stressed out too.
All right. Well, you said it was Hauser, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll be in touch because we're probably gonna have some detectives going around trying to figure out why this poor fool crashed in the first place.
Yeah. Horrible thing. We were just in the bar over there. We heard it.
Do you have an office or a home that we can get to? Maybe a business card we can give to the detectives before you head out of here?
Yeah. I don't have any cards, but my practice is just up the road here.
All right. Where's your practice?
There's a street. It's 2 blocks up that way.
I'm assuming there's a sign that says Dr. Doug Hauser.
Yeah, it's probably. That's a good,
What does it say, Doogie?
It's Doug. It's Doug.
All right.
Although
fair enough.
Doogie's a great name.
You might have to name a kiddo after
Might
it.
have to name a kid after it.
And with that, the cops kind of tell you, all right. Well, we'll finish trying to clean up this mess. I mean, we gotta get some sweepers out here. We gotta get some people out here now to start cleaning up all this blood.
I did see one thing.
Yeah.
Have you had many weird accidents like this one?
It's St. Louis. We got weird accidents all the time.
Gotcha. I thought, about 4 blocks up that way. I didn't chase the guy, but I saw a guy in black. He ran off.
A guy in black. That helps.
Yeah, I know it's not much to go on.
I'm wearing a black uniform.
Well, that's true. But I don't think any cops is running away from the scene. You catch my drift?
Yeah, that's fair enough. But that's for the detectives. I'm just here to make sure the scene's safe.
Well, I figured since you was taking statements and all, you might want to let the detectives
Well,
know.
you're getting ready to leave, right? I gotta take a statement for the detective. He'll come talk to you. You know, that's above my pay grade.
Sure.
If they want to give me an extra $10 a week, then sure, I'll come do it.
All right.
With that, he turns around and he goes back to talking to the medics at this point, who are loading up the poor guy. All you hear in the background is some mumbling, "Poor bastard." Any identification, and you start hearing those kind of conversations take place. Are you heading back over into the bar?
I'm gonna stick around and try to listen in on things that they say. If they say anything interesting.
All right. Well, if you want to, you can roll a listen skill.
Yeah.
You passed?
Barely.
Okay. Well, you do pick up on a couple little odds and ends, but realistically, it's you hear that there's some small time mob gangs that have been moving into the area, and they don't know whether some of these things that are happening are hits, or whether there's something else that's going on, or whether hey, he just pissed off the wrong person, or he had too much to drink and shot himself with his own pistol. Ironically, though, there's no pistol.
Sure. Yeah, but I don't say anything. I haven't checked out this car. I don't know what's going on.
Well, you could tell from the windshield the bullet didn't come from inside.
We'll chuck it up to like military investigative police. They he was shot 18 times in the back. Must be suicide.
He shot himself 18 times and then hid the gun.
Spoken like an ex-military person. And
they finally load him up, and everybody heads on out the business. And a couple of the flatfoots that are running around, those cops are telling, "All right, everybody, keep moving. You got nothing to see here. This is what, we just got to get this place cleaned up." As they start having some people come in with, buckets of water and start scraping and cleaning the streets. And with that is where we are going to end this evening.
Sounds good.
Thank you all for joining us. We'll pick up our next session with maybe some looks into that journal.
Yeah. So do we need to do these skill rolls with the intelligence checks?
We will. We're going to go ahead and shut down the stream and do that off camera.
Okay. Sounds good.
That way we can let some people kind of have their night back, and we will wrap up. So again, thank you for joining us. This has been our first Twitch stream. Let us know what you thought. If you haven't been over to our Podbeam or over to our YouTube pages, look us up. That didn't work crew, or not working cast, I think is what it is.
Notworkingcast@gmail.com if
right.
you have any questions or feedback, and Not Working Crew on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
All right, and until then, keep on adventuring.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Later.